and welcome to What You Say Anime. I am your host, Peter. On today's episode, we will be looking back like Fujimoto on the wrapped up fall 2024 season. Timing is everything, so why not be 2 weeks late to the dance? Sadly, scheduling is rough sometimes, but we are here and ready to review some shows. And by we, I mean myself and my lovely seasonal and moviegoer reviewer, Cozette. Cozette, how are you doing tonight? And what are your overall thoughts of the season that was fall 2024?
I'm doing good. I'm freezing. It's so cold in Toronto right now, so I'm really cold by the window. The fall was fine. I think this year's fall was a bit hard for me just because I was falling behind a lot of shows, and sometimes I thought maybe it's because I lost interest, but also I was really sick, and so it was hard to, honestly, it's hard to watch anime when you're sick because you can't pay attention to the subtitles, but I thought it was a fine season. It's not like last fall. I mean, last fall we had Apothecary Diaries, we had Free so it was still a good season, but I fell behind pretty bad this season. So, but yeah, how was yours?
Yeah, I think for anime watchers like us, I thought it was okay. I feel like for like the overall public, I think that this was probably one of, if not the weakest season of the year. I did think that there were some diamonds in the rough, but I did also drop a lot of shows this season. Some of it, I was kind of in like you're saying, boat. I was sick for like almost a month, and I just like didn't feel like doing anything. So like if it didn't really catch me, I kind of dropped it. There's also some shows where it's just I had fun with, but lost interest. Trillion Game. I tried. It's insane. I think the show itself is super fun. I just like, do I need 24 episodes of it? I was like, I got like 12, and I was like, that was plenty. So, but there was some really good shows this season, and we will be talking about some of those. Just a heads up before we jump into these shows, we will be talking spoilers, obviously. So this is your warning. If you want to be jumped to any, or if you want to jump to any specific show, I will leave timestamps in the description below. So without further ado, let's jump into probably the powerhouse show of the season, and that is Dandadan. A lot of hype coming into this. I think some people were confused that this was a split 2 core, and were kind of taken aback by the ending episode, which I think was like kind of a negative. I don't think it was set up the best way, but overall, I mean, Dandadan was pretty much everything that I thought it was going to be and a little bit more. I did read the manga, and I do think sort of how they adapted some of the emotional beats, the creativity and animation was sort of really well done. We'll see it. I want to see how they kind of like adapt it next season with this Gigi arc that's kind of getting set up at his house. And because that was my favorite arc of the manga when I read it. So there's a lot of great things that are going on with this. Science Saru taking the helm of this, their first, I would say, huge project since Yuasa sort of took a back seat with Science Saru. And the new director that came in that normally this would be Yuasa. This time around, it was a different director, Uga Yamashiro. So him being at the helm of Science Saru was really awesome to see this next step forward in this studio that I thoroughly love. A lot of my all-time favorites are from Science Saru with Ping Pong, Devilman Crybaby, Aizoken. Like these are Inuo. Like this is an incredible studio that does fantastic things. And Dandadan is another show that will be added to that list. Cozette, what were your thoughts on Dandadan?
You know, there was like a lot of, I already talked about it in the mid-season review. If you haven't watched it, you should watch that one too. But I wasn't sure because in terms of like shonen action, it's a 50-50 for me. I either like am intrigued or I'm bored. And Dandadan like kept me intrigued like the entire season. And I think like Science are really, really impressed. I haven't watched a lot of their anime, and I feel like that's my little blind spot right now, is that I haven't watched much of any of their shows.
Oh, wow.
Definitely need to do that.
I'm honestly a little surprised you haven't, but
I know. I'm a fake fan.
You have a good. Did you have a really fun backlog to look forward to if you ever want to jump into it?
Yeah, that's true. Or Secret Santa. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I thought it was a really fun action-packed show. There was no lulls or anything. It just like every episode, there was no like pause or boring moment. It just was like action, go, 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 go. I was really impressed by the visuals, the music. The music was really, really cool. There's a lot of different types of sounds in the show, and I really, really enjoyed that. And yeah, I think my favorite episode that like changed it all for me was episode 7 with Acrobatics. I was like, oh my God, now I know why everyone's like praising the show. And that's that episode was like exactly what I love about anime. It's not always just the action and the bells and whistles. It's literally just the story. And I think episode 7 like totally changed my mind about Dandadan. And I don't know if there's gonna be other arcs like that one specifically, but that episode blew my mind. I think it was my favorite episode of the season. But yeah, I don't know what else to say right now because it was just so amazing, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was episode 7 was probably in like my top like 3 or 4 episodes of the year. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It was really good in the manga too. I just felt like they understood that this was a huge pivotal moment in the manga and took a huge focus on it in the anime, which is like the correct call. It was so good. I do gotta say though, for the music, they used the same song twice, so it gets docked 10 points from me. You're not allowed to use the same song twice. I'm just kidding.
So
it helps that the song was an absolute banger, but like they used the same song in the chase scene twice. I'm like, no. Ever since Tower of God season 2, now it's just like a running joke. I don't actually care, but I'm going to bring it up every single time that I notice that it's the same one. But this show had so many positives for me. I watched it subbed. I thought the voice actors killed it, especially Momo's voice actress. I thought she was out of this world good. One of the best from the year. I did see some clips from the dub, and that also sounded good, but I was really impressed by what the sub casted. So I kept with the sub. Animation, one of the best animated shows of the year for sure. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. Sound design was great. Just the characters themselves and how they interacted with each other, like with the addition of Arya, I think her name is, the pink hair girl. Like that fun dynamic got added, and then Gigi in the later episodes sort of being like this fourth pillar in their team, I thought was like really fun. I can't wait to see more of Gigi just because he's an absolute goofball, and I like his sort of like I like the fact that like Ket or Okarun viewed him as like a rival, and then Gigi's just like, wait, can we just be best friends instead? Like he like was completely oblivious to this. He's just like, oh, I mean, he was oblivious that Okarun liked Momo, but he like didn't understand the fact that like Okarun thought Gigi was like a threat. He just thought like he was like cool and wanted to hang out with him. So that was really fun. Like the comedy was hitting on this. There's really not a whole lot of negatives to say. I just thought how they ended the season, the first season, was bad. Like to me, it's like it left out on a mark that didn't make any sense. And that's part of, I think, just how the manga is structured, where like I think they would much rather this be 2 consecutive and just run with it, and it would make a lot more sense in the story. But because it's broken up, like it kind of leaves out on a weird part. But I will probably forget when the next season airs. But love Dandadan. Shockingly, not my favorite show of the season. It was really good though. I'm giving this a 9. I can't wait for the GG arc. When the GG arc drops, it has a really good chance of being a 10. But I thought the first season was really well done. 9 out of 10.
Awesome. I loved the introduction of GG. I was kind of sad we only got like 1-2 episodes with him.
Yeah, yeah.
I think with the cliffhanger, it caught me off guard, especially with like the way that the ED is. I was like, I just sat there like, okay, there must be something else. This is a joke, right? But I think like, could they have just ended an episode earlier? I don't know. But it was still a lot of fun. I really like Gigi. I watched it in sub and dub. I watched it just because I really liked the dub actors. And then Alex Le was like added in for Gigi, and he's really cool. And he's been recording a lot of TikToks of behind the scenes on the show, which was really cool. So if anyone wants to see some behind the scenes on dubbing, follow Alex Le on TikTok. He's pretty awesome. I gave it a 9, which is good for a shonen for me, I think. For a shonen action. I liked it. I didn't like it as much. Acrobat is Silty though. That's like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Me, so because it was just so cinematic. It felt like it felt like it wasn't part of the show in some ways.
100% agreed.
The style was so different and everything. So it's a 9, but episode 7's a 10 for me.
And I do like, this is gonna be like a minor spoiler for like Dandadan, the manga. There are other like touching and heartfelt moments, which I do like that. Like there's shows that like will do this type of like episode, and then they'll never do another episode like it, and it kind of frustrates me. Dandadan, I feel like, has a good idea of like what the messages that they're trying to present in the manner that they do it, whether it's silly and goofy with like a bunch of high school kids to like the more serious stuff that can be implemented with like the sci-fi elements or like the paranormal or the occult stuff like that. So it's like it's a great mix of putting that together, because a lot of times there's like tragedy behind like these ghost stories or something like that. And
Yeah.
bringing them to life the way that they did it was like fantastic. So can't wait to see more from Dandadan. Can't wait to see more from Science Saru. Just an awesome show. Wouldn't surprise me. This is people's like anime of the year type of thing. Didn't make my top 10. It was close. I think it ended up being like 12 or 13, but it was one of my highest rated 9s of the year. It was a really good show. So that is Dandadan. Moving on to our next show is Yakuza Fiance, a show that I was scared for. I was very scared for because they look like grown ass adults and they are like juniors in high school. So I was like, okay, how are they going to play this off? And I kind of forgot, like after like the second episode, like I got more entranced by like their behavior in the Yakuza like circle that they're in, that it felt more like a Yakuza syndicate show than like a high school drama, which is what I was scared for. It's like I thought there was going to be like a lot of like school stuff, and there really wasn't. There was like scenes, but like there wasn't like full episodes around, you know, like a school festival episode or something like that. Like there was none of that. It was just mostly like the drama of being in like a Yakuza family and just like the right amount of toxicity of what this story is presenting. Normally when it comes to these types of shows, I feel like it can draw the line for me on how far you can push the boundaries. Sometimes it gets into like assault and stuff that like I'm just like, nah, I'm out. Like I feel like they didn't do that. Like sure, like Yoshino got like hit and stuff, but then she like hit somebody with like a hairdryer. Like she wasn't taking shit, which I was a huge fan of. Like stuff like that when you can like retaliate and not play like the backseat in some situations was a breath of fresh air. So much fun. This show was so much better than what I thought it was going to be. I compared this to a manga called Yakuza Lover, which is completely different. So I went into it with like the wrong mindset. So that's on me. But I had a great time watching this. Cozette, what's your thoughts on Yakuza Fiance?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull a Pete and be got my manga right here.
I started reading it, by the way.
Nice. I stopped at volume 3, which is like I think halfway the season or so. So I didn't want to go in with too much high hopes with this. And you know what? They knocked it out of the park. They totally used the same art style as the manga. I think some people didn't like the art style, but it's literally what the manga looks like. Mm-hmm. It's dramatic, it's sexy, it's funny. The romance is not really there, and I think there was some feedback I've heard from people like expecting like more romance, but I thought it was a great Yakuza drama, and I think it really captured both of their personalities. I think for Yoshino specifically, because that's the whole reason I started the manga was that I heard like a badass female character, and like that's my shit. So I'm really glad they really got her personality to shine, and she's not some like ditzy girl. She's truly a Yakuza daughter. She isn't a pushover. She didn't like Kirsch. Like as soon as Kirishima was like, "I love you," she's like, "Hold your horses."
Pause.
Space. Consent. But yeah, I'm so glad that like a lot of people just fell in love with her this season. That's like one of the things I was really excited for. It's not my favorite manga only because Kirishima is a bit of a red-ish flag. But like to be honest, he's not the biggest red flag of the year, to be quite honest. There's a lot worse people, a lot worse men this season. I think he respected her a lot. He gave her his space to some degree. I feel like he would never hurt her. And I feel like he would wait for consent, but we'll see how that goes in the future. But I really like both of their characters. I think they really shine this season, as well as like everybody else. Even Shoma, I think a lot of people fell for him. Granted, he's amazing. So yeah, I was really, really happy with how the anime turned out.
Yeah, I think you said it the best with Kirishima, where that's the type of character for me can really make or break these types of shows, depending on like the line that he crosses. So obviously he's a toxic character and he's going to be pushing buttons and boundaries the whole time. But like I thought like the level that he did it at was like what I was looking for. He never like, you know, like busted into the bathroom while she was taking a shower or something. Like he didn't do any of that where like he seems like the type of character that maybe would. But like yeah, he for as flawed and as toxic as a character he did have like some morals and some boundaries that he like refused to cross, and like I hate to call him like a gentleman, but like he did have like properties of a gentleman that I saw in him, but he also had like the exact opposite properties of a gentleman at times. So it was like a fun contrast because he's obviously like supposed to be that character. So where you draw the line on a character like this can really change how like the story goes. And like they didn't make it super dark. They didn't make it anything that it didn't need to be. I felt like that this was exactly where it needed to be, and because of that I thoroughly enjoyed this way more than I thought I was going to. I give this an 8. I started reading the manga because I was intrigued to see where it goes, just based off of the end where Yoshino agrees to be his girlfriend, but like not really, but like when you get into a situation like that, like you never know like what more is going to lead into that, because like maybe they go on like a fake date and they hold hands and something blossoms between the two when something it's like they're leading up to something that I want more of. So I started reading the manga and it's really fun so far. So it's more of sort of like what we got in the anime. So is there a chance for season 2? Probably not, but it's been a fun read. So what were your like final thoughts and ratings on Yakuza Fiance?
Well, I gave it an 8.5. It says 8 on Mal, but it's definitely an 8.5 for me. I was just so happy with it, and like just with Yoshino in general. Like she literally like beat someone's ass and lost a tooth, and then she's like, "I'm gonna stick it back in." So
that was cool.
Huge props to her. I think I really liked seeing her have some fights, and we did get some really good fight animation actually, which I was unsure how that was going to turn out. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. If there is a season 2, sweet, because I think like it gets better. I think it gets better, and I think the art style even changes up a bit in the manga. But yeah, I love the ED. I think the ED was probably one of my favorites of the season.
Really good.
I will say the arc of the fighting and the politics of it all is what got a bit foggy for me. So maybe I need to reread that in the manga. But the way that the end turned out, it looked like they were kind of hinting maybe something might happen. I don't know, but yeah, I'm just really happy with it. It was awesome. It felt like it could be like a K-drama sort of deal.
100%.
Really good in the live action as well. So yeah, I was really happy with it. And yeah.
All right. 8 for me, 8.5 from Cozette. Moving on to our next show. One of the most fun I've ever had, like legit watching an anime. Not just this season, not just this year, just ever. And that's how I attended an All Guys Mixer, a show that was not even on my radar. I had no intentions of watching this because I completely misunderstood what the concept was, and that's on me because I have a very hard time reading apparently. So then I watched the first episode. I said, "Yep, this is it. This is I literally said after the first episode, I said, once this is all done, I'm going to read the manga, and I am fully caught up on the manga. It is so good. It is so fun. Just a breath of fresh air when it comes to romance. Like we got this year with college romance, we got like A Sign of Affection, but that was like really heavily towards like they're building their relationship. This is just like a group of college kids sort of just like having fun, mixing with like, you know, boys and girls just like mixing together and sort of just like having a friend group and just like getting to know each other. And then if it leads to something else, great. If not, I think two of them really want relationships. I think one would be okay with just like being a friend. But it was just like I loved how each character was different and how they handled different situations. The cross-dressing aspect of the show was really fun. Sort of just like them expressing themselves, like whether it was at work or outside of work and still cross-dressing. They just like really like that idea. And like I get it. Like if I looked that hot as well, I would do the same thing probably. So absolutely adored how I attended an All Guys Mixer. Cozette, what's your thoughts on this show?
It was like a complete surprise because I wasn't planning on watching it, and then you hyped it up, and I was like, "Well, damn, I gotta watch it." And it's exactly like the type of anime I've been like waiting for. It's just like adults just casually dating and just meeting each other, building relationships, like friendships first, getting to know each other. There was no drama. There was just butterflies. You know, they're getting some good vibes with each other. But I loved it. I love seeing that there's like 3 different personalities in each friend group. I loved how I liked. Oh god, I forgot their names already. So in Tokiwa, they were initially my favorite duo.
But
I Asagi and Fuji.
Let's go!
Fuck, they were so cute. However, Asagi's the other one. No, not Asagi.
That's the
Hagi.
Yep.
Yeah, Hagi's the one that was like, he was so high strung, and like when people are have that much anxiety, I feel that anxiety.
100%.
But the thing is that it feels like if any of the other three were going to become a couple, it would be him first.
Yes,
just
him
because
for sure.
you could, like, it sounded like, you know, they were ready to like commit to each other already, whereas the other two, like, they were like, who knows what's going to happen with those couples, but like I think Haji's situation probably would become a couple at some point. But yeah, I just love the show because there's just so many different dynamics, and I felt butterflies in each situation, and it's exactly what I've been wanting to see. It's not like there's no like chase or anything. It's just, you know, adults having fun and just
because there's points and times where it's like you just want to like hang out and like you don't want a relationship and you just want to like chill, but like you also want to like chill with like, you know, like the opposite sex or something like that, because like it adds like a different dynamic. I think there's sometimes when you get into certain points of your life where it's just like, oh, there's a girl or there's a guy, I wonder if he's interested in me, blah blah blah. This is just like, no, let's just get some beers and chill. It's just like, that's awesome. Like, I want that. Like, that's so fun. I had it. There was just like a great group. One thing I really liked about the show was like, I think Tokiwa and So were like obviously the main couple of the or group or people of the show. But like, I thought they did a really good job at like showcasing all six of them in like a respectable amount of time. Like, kind of like each episode, they each got like their shine. Whether it was like, I think towards the end, more like Hagi and Kohaku dominated, which I think made more sense. But then like earlier, you know, like we got like these Hagi and Fugi when they got to go to like Komaket and stuff like that, and really showcase off like who they were and like what they do for fun and just chilling and hanging out. And that was perfect. That's like exactly what I wanted. It's just, this show is just fun. It's just so much fun to watch. I thought like the dialogue was great. Like it felt like real friends just hanging out and talking with each other. I also felt like it's when you're meeting somebody for the first time, you maybe go along with some stuff that you're not maybe like super like knowledgeable about or super into, but you know, it's just like, you know, like I just met this person, maybe we'll go along with it and see what happens. And then like seeing Asagi just like fall in love with being like a model for Fugi's like doujinshi, and like him not understanding anything about it is great. They cut something from the manga though that I really wish that they added to the anime, was that Fuji, the doujinshi that she wrote, is actually co-authored. And the person that she co-authored with is a dude. And he is like, he's obviously like super gay. It's hilarious. And so like, he kind of has like a crush on Asagi, because the first time he sees Asagi, he's like in like handcuffs and blindfold for Fuji. So like he completely misunderstands who Asagi is based off of that character, like first time meeting him, because he thinks that like he's super into like all this shit. Asagi is just like the golden retriever character who's just going with the flow for everything. And so it kind of adds like a really fun love triangle, like jokingly. It's great. So if you want to see like another element of like romance in the show, read the manga. It's so fun. It's hilarious how fun this manga and show is. Oh man. I give this a 9. It's like a borderline 10. It was one of the best shows, one of the most fun shows I've ever watched, one of the best shows from the season that I watched. I picked up, like I said, I picked up the manga and I read it all in a day. Like, I love this series. I could see it being like, when the manga is all said and done, I can easily see this getting a 10 for me. What are your final thoughts on the show?
It was just so much fun. I guess I need to read it. How far in the manga did the anime get?
So I think like the manga's like, you might have to Google it. I think there's like, the anime adapted like 26, 27 chapters, maybe something like that. And there's 57 chapters out now.
Okay.
And they're not like long chapters at all. So I think I read 30 chapters in like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. It's pretty quick read.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I loved it. I think the finale was fine. Like I didn't expect any like official couples or anything. I think I said that in the review before, but I was like, it's fine if they all don't get together. Like, I'm cool with that. I'll gotta shout out the goat. Fuji's VA is the same VA as Mao Mao, so instantly
What?
she's
I didn't know that.
yeah. Oh, I can't pronounce the name. Aoyuki?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
She's a goat for
awesome.
me.
She was so
Yeah.
good.
Shit. I love her. So yeah, I loved it so much. I give it a 9 as well. It was fun vibes. Like I looked forward to an episode every week. This is one of the few that like I was never behind on because I was like, I need to watch this. It was just a good adult true adult rom-com. And
Yep.
I loved it so much. So I want more of this. I just want more.
You hear that, Japan? We want more. Give me more.
We have power.
What is this?
We have the power to dictate that. So.
Yes. Hey, like 4% of our listeners are technically based in Japan, so I know you guys got connections if you're listening out there. So let them know we want more shows like How I Attended and All Guy Mixer. So 9 for me, and you also gave it a 9. 2 9s.
Yes.
2 bangers. All right. Moving on. Okay, this one's gonna be a little bit different. 365 Days to Wedding. This is gonna be fun because I don't know your score on this. I think the best way for me to describe the show was it was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
There were some episodes that I absolutely loved, and there were some episodes that drove me insane. I was very, very frustrated at points, and then some moments I was just like, yes, this show is going places that I didn't think it was going to go. 2 in particular, the Kaori and Gonda side storyline, which I thought was absolutely incredible, that just wasn't expanded on more, and I wish it was. Like, I feel like they could have resolved it in the anime easily with him just like going back and talking with her, because I do think, as somebody who's our age, if you wanted to date somebody and they had a kid, like that's a whole nother person that you are now in their life for. Like, you're not just dating one person, it's sort of 2 people. So like Gonda being taken back by that, I thought was like really well done. Like, because it was like a shock, which is like, yeah, I like love this person, but am I ready to commit myself to 2 people? And him sort of being like, I think like that shock was real. And I really wish they would have expanded on it, because I think that was a very human response to something like that. And him needing time to figure out sort of like how he felt. And I wish that was expanded on, and they just kind of just never really brought it up. They sort of used it as fuel for Takuya to move forward, which I think was correct. I just wish we also got it with Gonda. And then the other scene was like when they actually went on like a walking date and whatever, and then they kissed. I was like, holy shit, you know, like they're actually adults who like each other. Like, this is fantastic. They figured out they kind of like, that's like the solidified moment that's like, okay, we do care for each other like more than just like coworkers or whatever. Like, we should, you know, go on actual dates and talk about that. And then they sort of like regress back into the will they, won't they type of thing to sort of like drag out the storyline a little bit. And that's what like really frustrated me, because I think you could have still done a lot of the things the show did after that part, with them still being sort of maybe not even in like a committed relationship, but sort of like we're seeing each other and figuring out where that goes. So with the ups and downs, the show was just kind of a little frustrating. What's your thoughts on 365 Days to the Wedding?
I made a meme, so maybe I'll send it to
Yes, you did. It was great.
It said, "Are they lovers? No, they're fucking stupid."
Yep.
That's literally what these 2 were. They were just stupid, but it was cute. But it was stupid. It was frustrating, but it was cute. And I totally understand your frustrations about like dragging it. And I think it's because they wanted to they both had some issues personally to deal with. And I think like she had some personal stuff that she had to deal with, because she like closed herself off a lot and she didn't know how to open up to people and like just say what she say what she feels, say what she wants to say. But it was really frustrating when he was like, okay, let's date. And she just sat there. And I'm like, girl, say something. And then he leaves. And I was like, oh my God, that hurt.
Yep.
And then they spent like what, a day or a few days like separated from each other. And it was just so frustrating. But I can kind of understand why it was dragged out that much. And I did really, really love the Gonda episode. I think it was kind of realistic for adult relationships, you know, when you're
100%.
in your 30s. And like there's people who have already had divorce at our age already. So it was very, very, very realistic. And I think like what I liked about the show is that they kind of got to meet people in different stages of their love lives. Like there was one person that was divorced, one person that the princess was taking like a second chance at love, and then obviously there was Gonda who just wasn't successful at all. But they all gave their perspectives on love to them, and I think that was like their learning lesson of like, oh, that's what marriage is, that's what a relationship is. And so I did like how it ended, and I think, you know, them actually proposing to each other was very, 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 very adorable. And it was just funny how they're like, should we just skip dating and get married? And I was like, dude, you guys have been dating. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like you've been living with each other. You met the family.
Yep. Very early, yeah.
They've been doing what people in relationships do. But I thought it was just so sweet. And I thought it was funny that like the threat, that I thought there was going to be some drama happening.
Yeah.
There was no drama.
That was dumb.
I forget who it was. I guess it was a coworker or someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it, or like his old boss or something? Like, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's so long ago now. I don't remember.
It was just like, he like got a phone call. It's like, all right, we're good. It's just like, all right, all right, bye.
I thought you were fake. To be honest, I thought both of them were going to get shipped to Alaska together. Just because, oh, you're a couple, you might as well just go together, start a new life in Alaska. But I thought it was funny, I guess, that the boss decided to give up and go, I guess. And then her husband's like, sure, I'll join you. But I was like, weren't you gonna like consult your husband first before doing it?
I don't know if it's a Japan thing, but it's just like, hey, by the way, I'm moving to Alaska. He's like, I guess I'll come. It's like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was a sweet finale. I think it ended fine. And from what I read on Reddit, manga readers have said this is like halfway through the manga.
Okay.
So now I'm like, okay, but what's left? I guess them preparing for the wedding. I guess that's what's left. So would I read the manga? I think if I'm really, really bored one day and just want to know how it ends, I probably would. But it's not like Mixer. I'd probably read Mixer before this. So
yeah. I think I was sort of in the same boat where like I did like how it ended. I would like to see. I might just like read like the last 5 chapters type of thing, because I don't care enough to read, you know, like 50. How many chapters is this? It's 110. So if it's halfway through, I don't really feel like reading 50 chapters of maybe the same thing that we got in the anime. I kind of just want to see it like get resolved, and hopefully they just live happily ever after type of thing. But if we're just speaking off of the anime, I give this a 6. Like I thought it was okay. I think for like an average, I mean, since I really like the romance genre, I usually score it higher than normal. I think if you're like an average anime watcher, like I don't think even this is like, it's so hard to like find adult cast romances. This would be so far down on my list of like shows I would recommend. It's just like, it had elements that I really liked, but like it was missing like. It's just tough because as we were recording this today, a show called Can You Keep a Secret came out, and the first episode had like everything that I wanted from like an adult cast romance from the first episode. So it's just like, I would recommend that one episode of that show compared to 12 episodes of this. So it's really hard, but I still think it's like, I don't think it's a bad show. I just think it's like middle ground. So that's why I gave it a 6.
Yeah. It was fine. Usually fines, I give like a 6.5 or 7. I gave it a 7 because I still enjoyed it enough, and I think the story's fine. It was frustrating, but I think it was still cute. I still don't care about the male lead, honestly.
Yeah.
He was still a little boring. But yeah, it was fine. I wouldn't say it's like a must watch of the season, but if anyone wants or craving some sort of frustrating romance, watch this one.
Yeah, because I think we got like 4 romances last season, and I would say watch Blue Box over this, to be honest. Like, as much as I like to harp on Blue Box, like I still think Blue Box. We get that next review when Blue Box is finished, because I actually do really like what's going on in Blue Box right now. But yeah, a 6 for me, like a 6.5 from Cozette on 365 Days to the Wedding. Next up is Acro Trip. Another show I had not on my plan to watch, not on my radar. I think I saw I want to say I saw a clip of you posting like the Kuma Kaijins, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch this show. I like giant magical bears that get summoned from like a wizard character. That seems really fun. I didn't even know what the show was about. I just saw the bears. And this show was hilarious. Like, it parodies like magical girl stuff. It parodies some other elements of like this. People say it's like a Yuri subtext, and like I didn't get that vibe at all. Like I think it was like way more like admiration than like romantic feelings towards like Date and Berry Blossom. Like I felt nothing towards them. I just thought it was like, she really likes this person. Let's see what we can do with it. Still, my favorite episode of this entire series was when there was no threat. And what does a magical girl do when there's no threat? She literally just picks up trash. Like, I think that was so funny. It's like they need each other to continue doing what they're doing. And stuff like that was just like, that's great. Like, that's like, it's a lot of times in this show, it's like subtle humor, not like the punchline. I thought the show was filled with that. I loved it. Like the sort of like the tragic backstory of Chroma becoming who he is was like really funny as well. Just like him and his classmate vying to be the most evil person in the world just because kind of thing. Just so fun. The show was a blast. What are your thoughts on Acro Trip?
I'm so glad you started watching it. And you're like, there's only like you, me. I feel like there's not many people that are watching it. I think
Rifle watched it, but he didn't like it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's fine, Rifle. I give you a
whatever.
Oh my god, it was so much fun. It didn't take itself too seriously. It was just like one of those shows where it's goofy, it's not too serious. You can like relax and chill to watch it. Yes, it was a parody of a magical girl show, but I just thought it was so much fun where it was like magical girl and villain. And like the surprising thing was that the main character joined the villain instead, but only because she just wanted to fangirl and watch her favorite person fight. And I thought that was such a fun take on the show. Obviously, the Kumakaijins were the reason I watched the show in general. They were just so cute, and I wanted more of them. And I thought it was so cute that the grandfather pretty much bonded with them and like went out with them.
He went on vacation with them. You like met their on a trip to the countryside with them.
It was so cute. And like there wasn't any intense drama. And the funny thing is that it was very much like, you know, like status quo. We're like, yes, Berry Blossom comes in, she fights them, and then they're like, okay, cool, thanks, beat us up, bye. So there was nothing too serious. It was just like light battle mode. So
it was Team Rocket.
Yeah, it was Team Exactly. The only thing that like I was kind of upset by was the reunion with Chroma and Mashiru, because like I guess he didn't realize Mashiru was his like old friend.
Yep.
And I was really sad there wasn't like a big momentous like reunion. He was just like, I don't know what that is. What do you mean? So, but I still enjoyed it. The funny thing with Date is that she's the way she is, and I loved her transformation when she became a general and she had her own girl moment. That was just so fun. I just had such a great time with this. And then with her dad being just whatever, I don't know, he was like her teacher. Like he was always around, but like nothing went on with him. So but yeah, I really enjoyed the show. The finale was, you know, a lot of people were upset by it, but I was like, you know what, that makes sense. They were just like, here, like we all get together, and then they just went back to their usual shit, just fighting each other. So I didn't expect more from the finale, and then I doubt there's a season 2. So
yeah,
that was a fun time.
The ending did kind of feel like an OVA a little bit, but like I also didn't mind because like the show wasn't like some compelling narrative of magical girls and stuff like that. It was just like kind of just like Monster of the Week type of thing, or just beat up the bad guy and leave type of thing. And so I wasn't expecting a whole lot. It's like, did I have fun with the last episode? I did, so that's all that mattered. I gave the show an 8. Really fun. I would love a second season. Chances of that happening close to 0, but you never know. Just like a really good time watching this show.
I gave it a 7.5. It's not an 8 level for me, so I gave it a 7.5. The one thing that I just really wanted out of the show was more of a connecting relationship between Chroma and Date, just like that mentor-mentee relationship. I thought that was what we were going to get in the second half, and we didn't really. We slightly did, but not really. So I would have hoped for that, but it's okay. It was fine. It was fine without it. Fine. So it's a 7.5 for me.
Right on. Okay, so 7.5 and an 8 for me. Moving on to our next show, we have Nina, the Starry Bride. Real quick, did you watch this dubbed or subbed?
I watched it subbed because I think I tried dubbed because everyone was like, "Oh my god, watch the dubbed," and I think you mentioned to watch the dub, and then I tried to, but I couldn't.
Okay, fair
So
enough. Yes. So if you are watching the show, I thought Jill Harris, who did Nina, was great. Everybody else was terrible. This is a very, very bad dub, but that was like, luckily, like I really liked Nina's voice actress, and she talked like 70% of the episodes, so it was fine. But man, there were some terrible, terrible dub moments in this. I think it was like the king in like the second episode. Felt like they grabbed the guy off the street and be like, hey, read some lines for us. And I went and looked up who it was, and it was like some acclaimed voice actor, like some guy who has been in like hundreds and hundreds of anime. And I was just like, wow, he just mailed this one in like real quick. I loved Nina. A lot of people were like harping on like its production issues, and maybe it's just somebody who watches like 20 plus seasons a season. I thought it looked just like any other anime. Like, I really didn't think like the production issues were that bad. It's not like
Blue Lock,
not like Blue Lock, not like production issues like Whisper Me a Love Song or like Hananoi, stuff like that. I just thought like it was just like this was like from an average studio, and they were doing like average studio things. And like I know like the art in the manga is much better, but I thought the anime looked really good. I like there was no like Sakuga, but like I thought like the character designs were great. They did like a great emphasis on Nina's eyes, which was like the huge focal point of her character. Like I thought like the things that needed to stand out did. So I personally didn't have an issues with stuff like that. It was more along the lines of I didn't really see people complain about the voice acting. Like that to me was like the glaring issue with this show. I fell in love with it more like the second half. Yeah. Sort of like Azure was like a cool character, and in the preview I set my allegiance to Azure, but it's not. It's Team Set all day. Set is the man. Like he is. I'm assuming he's probably like my red flag of the year. The fact that he just killed somebody while having sex with her is like crazy. Like this dude is terrible, like just terrible person. But I did kind of like how he was opening up a little bit more once Nina sort of like got like broke through to him, and that's what I liked a lot. But the idea that like Azure is this major green flag and Set is this major red flag, and they're on two opposite sides for her heart, I thought was great. Cozette, what were your thoughts on Nina the Starry Bride?
I think at the mid-season review, I was like, Stockholm Syndrome, I don't like this. And now I'm like, okay, it's fine. But it's because like I watched the episode introducing Set like right after recording that episode.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So like I think that was like what 3 episodes in, I think. So I would say like the second half is definitely where it caught my eye. It is gorgeous. It's really pretty. I like the political drama of it. The romance is kind of like, if someone asked me for a romance, I wouldn't recommend Nina personally,
for
because
sure.
There's something about it's the same thing as Sacrificial Princess. I don't know why. I don't like connect with the romance in these shows for some reason. But I do really like Nina. I love her tenacity and her caring personality and the way she's like connecting with Set and like trying to take the, tame the beast in a way.
Yep.
But I really, really liked it. I think Set, obviously, Team Set, I guess, but Team Hikami as well. Hikami's awesome.
Ooh.
I really, yeah. Team Hikami.
Third
not
option.
As maybe a third, but like only for me though. But okay. I really like Hikami. I think he's so cool. I think like that last episode was awesome, just of what happened. With Set though, yes, he's a red flag. He's not the biggest red flag of the year.
Oh, but who is your red flag of the year then?
Gee, I wonder. And maybe there's a season 2 right now. Oscar.
Untamed. Okay, unnamed memory. Gotcha.
Untamed memory.
Untamed,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That'd be a great memory too. But when Set was introduced, he reminded me a lot of Joffrey from Game of Thrones, just because like the way he like got her, like the way he just dealt with her reminded me of him and Sansa. But then he also reminded me of like Austin Butler's character in Dune 2, just like of how ruthless he was.
Sure. Yeah.
So I got that vibe, and I was like, oh shit! Now I get it. I don't know if I'm team Set. I'm not team either of them yet, because I just like Nina right now. But that cliffhanger, man,
so good.
This should have been 2 cores. Oh my god, So I know a lot of people have been saying they want to read the manga. I might, but like I have such a huge backlog. But I might if like there's no hint of a second season, I will probably will because I really like Nina and I like the political drama of it. The romance I don't really care for, but everything else I really like.
I feel like this is a show that could get a second season because like it doesn't seem like its production budget was like super high. So like if they wanted to make a second season out of this, I feel like this is one of the shows that could definitely get a second season. I don't know how well it was received in like Japan and stuff, but I loved it. That's all that matters to me, really. I might read it. I know Veronica wants me to read it, but she also wants me to read and watch like 400 different things. So we'll see how that goes. I'm halfway through Chihaya Furu, so
okay.
So I have so for Frog out there, I am reading / watching things you recommend. It's just a slow process sometimes. But really like Nina. I gave it an 8. I like the second half was like legit a 9 for me. I just when Set the dynamic between Set and Nina and sort of the stuff that they went through went from like super toxic. I mean, he almost killed her to sort of like Set like Nina figuring out like Set's backstory. Like he was raised in like a graveyard essentially and like lived by himself and was not loved by like anybody. And so it's just, so you kind of get to figure out like why he's kind of like this huge piece of shit. And I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like you're still a terrible person, but I love you. But yeah, I had a great time. 8 out of 10.
Wow. I this is like the last show. The 7.5 for me. It didn't hit the 8 for me. Yeah. But it's a 7.5, but I feel like if we get a second season, it might change my perspective on it. So for now, it's 7.5.
Fingers crossed. Okay. Next show. I hope I can pronounce this right. I always pronounce it wrong. Lumiere Magical Girls Incorporated. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay. I screwed up a bunch. Kind of like 365 Days to the Wedding. This was a roller coaster for me. It was up and down. There were some moments that I really liked. There were some moments that I thought were like really dull. I do like the fact that we got this. It's like half action workplace, half slice of life workplace. And I really enjoyed like the slice of life moments where they like go to like karaoke and stuff like that. And I did wish we saw a little bit more of like those elements to it. Mm-hmm. Where it fell flat for me, especially like the last episode, where I feel like that's where you should put your budget in, like this big boss battle. I thought it was like really badly animated and it was sort of just like taking me out. Like, I think it could have been so much better with like really cool visuals because like this is like this. There was other boss battles in like the series, but like never felt like a final boss. The last episode felt like a final boss.
Yeah.
And that's where I cared. And sometimes it seemed like when like Kana was on her broom that they were like Microsoft PowerPoint dragging her across the screen. I was like, oh no, that looks so bad. And sort of like the fights with like the mixture between like 2D and CG, I didn't think blended well. So like it ended on a note that I didn't particularly like, but there were some things I did like the addition of like the third girl with their group. It is getting a second season, so that's great. So like maybe they can expand on some stuff that I'm looking forward to, but I don't know, like the generic like other CEO guy was just like, oh no, we need to make profits. I was like, you're so cookie cutter sometimes. It fell a little flat, but there were some moments that I loved. Hitomi, incredible character. Her voice actress was so good. Oh my god, I loved her voice actress. She's Nadeshko, so little bias there, but I thought she knocked the park. Anytime that she was on screen, I loved it. Kana, like I know that she is the main character, and I wish it kind of was Hitomi. Just because I had a lot more fun with her. What's your thoughts on the show?
Wow. I think the animation, I didn't expect too much for it, so I think that's why the last episode it didn't like bother me because the monster did look scarier than the other ones.
100%.
Slightly. So I was kind of like used to the animation all season that I didn't really expect anything like Dandadan the last episode. But I really, in terms of like all the magical girl shows this season, this was definitely my favorite magical girl show. And I liked its concept because it's like, yes, it's a magical girl show, but it's like anybody in the world, anybody can be a magical girl. You just sign up for it. And then with this one, it was like there's agencies, and this was very like startup tech vibes. And I really, really liked that because I thought that was so cool because they were like building magical girl gear, they're building like proprietary like software, and they're working with engineers. It was way better than Trillion Game as a startup show.
I would agree with that. They weren't scamming or committing fraud.
Oh my god, yeah, but it was just so nice. And I think like with I personally liked her as a main character only because they kind of showed her growth as like she was really hard on herself at the beginning, and she had some sort of like imposter syndrome, and at the end she like kind of gets this confidence of like, oh, like I'm actually good at what I'm doing, and there's people who respect me and like what I do. So I really like that arc for her. I think like I liked her as a main character, but my favorite character was actually the engineer. Kazuo, I think his name is. I really liked him because he was the smart one. He was the guy at the desk. He was the best part of the show for me. I really loved him, and I really, really liked the little girl Hannah, the mini engineer who was like a genius, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her. We only saw her for a little bit, so I hope we get more of her in the second season because I freaking loved her and I wanted more of her. I really, really liked her. I'm definitely going to watch the second season. I really like the vibes of it. But I agree with you. It was like, there was a lot of like ups and downs. I really didn't care for a big chunk of it. But the episode that I loved was when they were at the tech conference. I think I really liked that one. But yeah, there were at times where I got bored. But then there were times where I was like, ooh, that's cool. So there's elements of it that I did like. So it's enough for me to like continue watching for the second season.
I think I'm in the same boat. I was actually talking with Preston about this. I think like the one thing that I wish that this show had that would make it a little bit better is that if it was funnier. Like it's not I know it's not labeled as a comedy, but I feel like you could have done some things with the comedy aspects in the show, especially with Hitomi. I just think like her personality can be very funny, especially we see it in like the OP. That like her love of like tracksuits and drinking beer, I think was like a great thing that she had, and it really wasn't expanded on more when we did like some of the outside of the work stuff. I just really enjoyed her character, and if this show made me laugh a little bit more, I think it would have been like a great addition to what it was presenting. But like you said, stuff like the tech startup. I think it was like episode 3 or 4 where they like create sort of like new technology to defeat like the slime thing that they're fighting in like the sewers. I like that was awesome. Like that's innovative, that's new. It's like on the fly working. I was like, yeah, that's sick. But there were some times where I just felt like this episode could have been 12 minutes and I would have gotten the same thing. And when stuff like that, where like that's where like comedy can fill in some gaps and stuff like that. And like preliminary like introductions and stuff like that. It just fell flat in some aspects, especially like the last episode. I just thought like that boss battle could have stood out for this show. And when you present like a final boss, I want it to feel like a final boss, and it looked like one, but it didn't feel like one. So I'm gonna give it a 6.
Cool. I think what you wanted was like the comedy from Acro Trip, and just thrown into this one.
I just think, you know, like we both worked at like workplaces where it's just like, you know, sometimes it's like hijinks and like the dialogue between like your coworkers can just be really funny. And you build that, when you build that chemistry with your coworkers, you lighten up a little bit more and you have like a better time. I just felt like when we were in that workplace, it was just like business. Let's do a business. So it's just like, damn it. Like, let's do something else this time around. Let's do because like in the OP or something like that, like they're playing cards and stuff. And I think they do that in one of the episodes. It's been a minute, if I remember, but like I feel like there's elements of like the actual workplace that could have been expanded on outside of them just fighting the Ghostbusters call that they go on. Like I think that they could have expanded a little bit more on like the in-person workplace relationships. And like they did do that in the show, don't get me wrong. I just felt like the chemistry of like a cast like this wasn't hitting for me.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I think like even when they showed like the other agencies and one of them like didn't really care, like I guess the competitor, they didn't put a lot of care. They just wanted the money.
Yep.
So like with their agency, I can see the charm in it, but I totally understand what you mean. And like I gave this like a 7. It was close to like a 7 and a 7.5, but right now it's a 7. I still really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of potential. I won't read the manga. I got the manga for free at like Anime Expo, and I was like, I don't know. So, but no, it's a 7 for me. It was fine, but I think like some people might enjoy it. I think it had a really cool concept, and I think that's the part that makes it a bit higher for me than a 6, is because I just really like the concept. So, yeah.
All right on. 6 for me. 7-ish for Cozette. Before we get to our last show, we are going to go over some of the other shows that we watched, maybe like individually that like I watched and Cozette didn't, and then vice versa. Cozette, would you like to start?
Sure. So the first one is Tsumasho, which I gave its praises at the mid-season review. I really liked it. It's the show where a wife gets reincarnated as a child, and it's not the way that it sounds like. It's a very heartwarming, emotional drama kind of show. It's not pervy at all. And I did sing its praises in the mid-season review, and luckily it stuck to the landing. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I think it touched on a lot of different emotional points in the show. Obviously, I think I mentioned in the mid-season review, there was an abusive relationship that kind of came to light in like early the episode, but then that was kind of solved, not like immediately, but it was solved in an amount of time that was reasonable. There was a new romance that was shown, which was really, really cute. I just really loved the show. It was a very great like family show, and also found family in some way. And I don't want to spoil anything at this point, but I will say that it ended in a way that I really agree with. There was a point in the story where they were like, is this moral that she's staying in this kid's body? They do talk about the reincarnation, and if it actually is a reincarnation. A lot of the episodes did break me, so if you don't like sad shows, you might not like it. There's a lot of like heartwarming episodes as well, but I really liked the way it ended. It was really sweet. For like a slice of life drama show, it's definitely one of my favorites. Not my top favorite this season, so I'm going to talk about that later. But yeah, I really liked it. It was a nice way to talk about grief. I don't think I've watched a show that kind of touched upon it in this kind of way. So yeah, it was an 8 for me. I thought it was going to be like a 10, but I think there were some points of it where I was like, eh. And I think they did rush it a bit, but they had to try to fit what they can in like 12 episodes. So yeah, it's an 8. I recommend it if you like dramas and slice of life, but if you don't like sad shows, I would not watch it.
Just at me.
No, but I totally understand. I totally understand what you mean. And I guess the next show, talking about sad shows, which is my favorite show of the entire season, it's Negative Positive Angler, which I also gave its praises at the mid-season review, and it's my only 10 this season.
Woo.
It is a 10. It was my favorite slice of life this season. I think I talked about it in the mid-season review, but it was basically about a guy who's like down on his luck, and then he's in a lot of debt. He's a gambler. He's homeless, and he got diagnosed with, actually, I don't think they actually confirmed it was cancer, but it was some sort of illness he got diagnosed with. And then he meets these people that become like his found family and his support. And it just touched me. Like, it was just so emotional, and I connected with it so hard because I was like, I love found family shows, and I thought it was just so well done. And then they had this like fishing element to it, which I guess kind of connects to the story in a way. But it was a great story of like turning someone's negative mindset and making it more positive. And then he actually meets someone, which is like the best man of the season, named Takaki. They developed like this great romance, and then we find out at the end that like Takaki's also going through some stuff, and so Hiro's kind of the one to help him go through that as well. So it ended in the best way it could. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's top 10. It won't obviously continue. Like, it wrapped up in 12 episodes, and I think it wrapped up in the perfect way. So, but yeah, it's not totally sad, actually. In terms of like sad levels, this is
I
not
heard he
that.
didn't die, so it makes me want to watch it. Because I was like, he's gonna die at the end, right? So I'm not gonna watch it. And then he's like, nah, he doesn't die. I'm like, oh, then I might watch it then.
Yeah, he doesn't die. So the way that ends is that like he goes to get his like results, and so he still has his illness, obviously, but now he's with a support team that like he'll obviously like continue going to the hospital and get treatments. He wasn't getting treatments before, so now he's at that stage where like he's going to get treatments, and then he moved home to be with his family to get treatments there. And then there's like a flash forward basically at the end, and he's still getting treatment, but at least he's still there 2 years later. So it's not that sad actually. There's a lot more like emotional points, but it's not that sad. And there's also like there's a side story with a father and son, and they like connect with each other. I thought that was really sweet. There's no love story. We thought there was going to be a love interest with the girl, but it turned out she's a high school student. So that didn't happen.
That never stopped anime before.
Yeah, don't say that. I mean, I think he's a first year college student, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Not that terrible. So, but I really loved it. I really loved the bond between everybody, and then the fishing element was just fun. And like I used to fish with my dad, so like I kind of had some nostalgic vibes watching it. So it was just a great show about friendship, and I love it so much. It's a 10. I love slice of life. This is my shit. So I rated it above Dandadan, so that's probably sacrilegious, but
don't worry. The next show that the last show we're gonna talk about, I also rate higher than Dandadan. So
okay. The other show is Ranma Half. I thought it was a nice premise, and like I never watched the original, but I really enjoyed it. It's not like the best show of the season. I think it was a fun like rom-com to watch. It had that like villain of the week kind of vibe where there was like a new villain every few episodes. Mm-hmm. It was funny, it was sweet, it was corny. It has the ecchi tag, but like there was just like cleavage.
Yeah, I think the original is a little bit more horny than the remake.
Okay, cool.
I think that's why it has the ecchi tag.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't that bad. It felt nostalgic in some way because I think it had some like old school anime manga vibes. And then when I was watching it, I was like, oh, the music sounds a lot like Inuyasha, just like the vibes of it. And I thought I was going crazy. But it's actually the same composer and Inuyasha is obviously a Rumiko Takahashi manga. So like both shows are connected that way. But I really liked it. I really liked the art direction. I think I said that in the mid-season review, but like they like change up the art style in like battle scenes and stuff. So I really liked it. I'm definitely going to watch season 2. It's not like my top favorite. Like I was behind on it very often, but I actually did watch this in dub. And so the dub was actually really good. Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely going to watch that. I gave that an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
And then the last show is, which is kind of disappointing. It was the stories of girls who couldn't be magicians, which I know you dropped.
I didn't finish it. I fell off.
Honestly, I was like very close to doing it, but somehow I got to the finish line. So I think like me 20 years ago would have like ate the shit up. I think like 20 years ago I would have loved this. I think it's probably like the best looking anime this season.
Oh God, the background art was insane.
It was beautiful. The like magical scenes, I loved it so much. And like I really liked the concept of like a magical school, but like one side is learning like the old way of doing magic, and there's like the new way of doing magic. So I really like that. It's the story that didn't like vibe with me. There was like elements of it that I really liked. They hinted at a second season. There's a bit of like not a complete cliffhanger, but there's something at the end. I really didn't like the way it ended. Because someone who committed like a villain basically did something bad, and then he still gets to work at the school. So yeah, I wasn't vibing with the ending. But I don't know. It was nice to look at. I probably won't watch a season 2, but if I had to recommend a show to like a little kid, hell yeah, I'd give him the show. But we are getting Witch Hat Atelier.
Yes.
This year, which is the magical show I would recommend to everybody. So
100%.
I'm excited for that. I'm giving the stories of girls who couldn't be magicians a 6, though. That's my 6 of the season. So it was fine, but close to dropping. So
I feel you. My issue with it was like the whole time I was like, I would rather just be watching Little Witch Academia again. Like, I think that was just like a little bit more enjoyable and fun with the cast. But like, that background art is like next level background. Like the art was insane. Like,
yeah,
it had no right being as good as it looked. Like, it just was like, I don't know. That was next level stuff. I loved it. So was that all the shows you had?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Perfect.
I dropped big chunk. So
Yeah. Yeah, I dropped a lot. I'm not gonna go through them. Some of them weren't actually bad, just like I said earlier, just like kind of just ran out of time and stuff like that. So I have 2 shows to go over. First one was You Are Miss Servant. I really liked the first half. I did not like the second half. I thought it fell off really hard, really fast. I think it kind of went from being like this I'm not gonna say unique, but like not as cliched beginning with sort of like understanding who Yuki was as a character and sort of like being introduced as like this housemaid and like them living together to being like super cliche, like I don't know. I don't even call it like a rom-com, even though it kind of felt like it, but like their chemistry was like so off. It was so forced where like I don't know. It's like I don't know how I don't know. It was just everything just felt off in the second half where like I felt like they were like forcing the romance on to them and like it really wasn't needed because I felt like that's not where the show was going. Like especially with like what's the main character's name? I'm just gonna call him Yoshi because that's the last half of his first name. Like the whole point of his character, I was gonna say the whole point, but like a big point of his character is like he lives in a house by himself. Like his parents are gone, he's lonely, and all this stuff. And like somebody gets introduced into his life where he starts like opening up as a person. I felt like we needed to see way more of that before we got into like any hint of romance because like she doesn't know what love is really. She's a trained assassin. And so like when they kind of like put that together, I really fell off the second half. There was a really fat dog that I absolutely loved. So that gets points. So I'm gonna get this like a really low 7. It just like the first half was just I really enjoyed it. And like I think a lot of people in our Discord were sort of just like, oh yeah, I'm 2 episodes behind. Oh yeah, I forgot that this aired type of thing where it's just like we all kind of just like unanimously like fell off of it at like episode 6. But if it got a second season, I don't know if I would watch it just because I feel like it's going to be a lot of the same of the second half. And like the introduction of like the other assassins just being like the school nurse. It's just like she's just the school nurse. Like she doesn't really do anything, but she is an assassin and she's the school nurse. I was like, whatever. So yeah, really low 7 for me. The other one, it's kind of because it's like it's split into 2, but Mal doesn't have it as 2, but I'm gonna count it as 2. Is the first half of ReZero season 3. This season was fucking nuts. Like a lot of time ReZero is like set up, shit goes down, set up, shit goes down. This was like 45 minutes of setup and then 7 episodes of shit going down, which was so cool. It was such a different take on ReZero. Like, I don't know. It was awesome. Subaru gets a bunch of hate as a main character, and I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand. But I genuinely think he is a very good character. He had a great moment this season with like the speech that he gave while like everybody was in hiding while the sins were attacking the city. I thought like awesome moment from Subaru. The last scene where do you care about spoilers?
I'm never gonna watch ReZero.
Okay, so like Amelia is like getting forced to marry somebody else. It's like a guy who has like 800 wives. He's like a terrible person. And like she's like at the altar, and then like Subaru and some other guy just like kick down the church door. He's like, hold up, you ain't getting married. I was like, yo, Subaru, where have you been, my man? So like that was like a great like moment of like, because Amelia doesn't know what love is. She's trying to understand it. And then he kicks down the door and be like, yo, hold up, that's my girl. And she's like, Doki Doki, excuse me? Like, what is this feeling I'm feeling? So that was just like a great moment. I gave this part a 9. This is the best part. Ooh, is this better than I really like part 2 of season 2, the Sanctuary. So this is like on par with Sanctuary. Big fan of what we're getting in ReZero. But it's so funny. Like ReZero is like a show that I would like normally like make fun of and stuff like that. But I genuinely think it's really good. Like I do think it's like a really good show. It does have a lot of like the otaku elements that like people want to go buy figures of Rem and stuff. I totally get why that's like off-putting to people, but I generally think it's one of the best isekais ever made. So Those are the other two. Everything else I essentially dropped. So let's get to our last show. My anime of the season, if you don't count Orb.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Orb will be in the next part. But I fell in love with Kinokoinu Mushroom Pup. I do not understand why this has a 6.89 on Mal. This was one of the best Iyashikis I have ever watched in my entire life. It was, as somebody who has never owned a pet, I felt so connected to this pup that it felt like he was my own. Like, I just wanted to pick him up and give him a hug. Like, I loved my little mushroom pup, along with like his relationship with Plum was just adorable. I could turn this show on and just like sit back and relax and have fun. And it did this like Iyashiki moment with Hotaru is like his part of it with his dog is sort of grieving over the loss of like this dog that he had that was like essentially his only family since he didn't have like really have parents. And then Plum with Tsubaki with her grievances of sort of marrying the wrong person and sort of coming to terms with that. So they both had like this comfort in their life trying to figure out some things that happened in the story. Because one thing that I thought was super interesting, and it was with Tsubaki's character, was her ex-husband generally seemed like a really good person. Like he was trying to like work out their marriage. He seemed like, we only got like a brief thing of him, but like you could tell by like Tsubaki, like her vibes, just like it felt to me, it felt like I married a nice guy, but I didn't marry the guy that I loved. And I thought that was such a unique take on like that relationship and then needing something to support you through that. And it was like, I haven't personally gone through it, but like that was like something, a character I've seen in anime that I've never seen before do that. And you know, like it was a mix of like those emotional moments with like the drama, but I feel like most of the time it was like 90% like super happy go fun stuff with the pups. Like like Kinokoinu like learning how to write and like text message so he can communicate. It's like, I guess you own a pet, you have a dog. Like, yeah. Do you wish Marty could text you? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that'd be right. It's like, how would you feel if your dog could text you? Like, I don't know. Like
She'd
that
be right now.
Yeah,
honestly.
I know.
She would
play with me. Why aren't you looking at me?
She's literally doing that right now. So.
But like, there's like that one episode where like Kinokoinu learned how to write and just told like Hotaru that he loved Hotaru. Like he was trying to learn to write just so he could express that or just to tell him that he loved him. I was like, oh man, like I wish. I know you don't wish Marty could text you, but if Marty could text you, I love you, I bet you would really like that or something like along those lines. It's like, man, this show is so good. It handles so many different elements that are like subtle and fun and heartwarming. And oh, look at Marty. All the audio listeners need to get on YouTube or Spotify to check out Cozette's dog. So I absolutely loved Kinokoinu. I ranted. Cozette, what are your thoughts on Kinokoinu?
Oh my gosh. I mean, as someone who had two dogs, I connected with it really, really hard, especially with the first episode. But oh my gosh, it was so cute. And honestly, Kinokoinu, yes, he was like a dog, but I felt like he was more like a toddler.
Yeah, a little bit. A very smart toddler. Also dumb.
She's not gonna cook takoyaki for me. Like she's
right.
She's like she is.
Come on, Marty.
Oh my god, she's a little useless. But yes, I really, even though it's Iyashiki and it was very like, like heartwarming. There's also some like emotional points, obviously, with like dealing with grief, and I really like the direction that the show took with it. Because Hotaru's been through a lot, and he lost his parents, but then he also lost his dog, and then obviously his grandparents passed away. And I think like the episode that I really connected with was the one where like he spent his life not having a cell phone, and the reason why he didn't have a cell phone because it ties with his parents' death. And so I really like that episode because he gets to this point where he's like, I want to open my eyes and like see the world and actually get a phone so I can talk to Kinokoinu and everything. So I really love that episode. I think that was really, really impactful for the series. And then I love that the fact we got a backstory on like how Kinokoinu even got in the garden with the grandmother. I just thought that was really sweet. And like the way that Kinokoinu like watched Hotaru as he grew up. Such a great detail. And I really, really enjoyed that. The one thing, I wanted the snail to be real.
Oh, Snail Senpai? Oh my god, I wanted him to be real so bad.
As soon as he popped up, I had to pause. And I was like, oh my god, we're getting a snail.
We are so back.
And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see a snail in the visuals. What is this? Because I think like the snail was introduced right after Plum. So I was like, oh shit, we're getting another friend. And I was so sad. The snail's not real. But it's fine. It's fine. I just wish the snail was real. Because that was such a fun like trio. But I really enjoyed that. As I was watching the show, I was like, this reminds me of something that I watched forever ago. And there was an anime that came out eons ago called How to Keep a Mummy. And it has like the same kind of like Iyashiki vibes. And there's like, there's more than one mummy. There's like a little like, there's a bunch of different spirits. And they're so cute. So if you like this show, watch How to Keep Your Mummy or Keep a Mummy. So freaking
Wait, should I watch that or Flying Witch first?
Oh, I haven't even started Flying Witch yet.
Okay.
So
No, I'll watch Mummy first. Sorry, Flying Witch fans.
Honestly, you would die because Mummy is so cute. He like has Kinokoinu vibes. He's just this tiny little mummy that walks around. It's just so cute. So I love the show. I think Kinokoinu is hilarious. Plum was a little gremlin. I loved Plum. I might like Plum more than Kinokoinu because Plum is purple and I like purple.
That's my favorite color, so I get it.
Yeah, real ones know. So I really love the show. I'm glad it wasn't like totally sad through the whole thing. It was like a nice balance. So anyone who loves Iyashiki and slice of life, highly recommend it.
Yes, 100%. I give this a 9. It was my anime of the season. It was my number. This might sound preposterous. It was my number 9 anime of the year, above Apothecary Diaries.
Shot.
That's how much I love the show. Like, this is a borderline 10. I think it's one of the best Iyashikis I've ever seen. I fell in love with it. Let me see where I put it on my top 100. It's my number 92 anime of all time. Like, I eat this shit up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was so much fun. I would rewatch a lot of these episodes. I agree with Plum. The fact that Plum looks like a menace but is actually like a Cinnabon is awesome. So good. Loved almost everything about it. If you're an Iyashiki fan, you need to watch Mushroom Pup. 9 out of 10.
Yeah. I didn't rate it that high. I gave it an 8.5.
I think I'm the only person who rated it this high. Actually, no, Stony gave it like her like number 1 anime of the year or something like that.
No way.
I think so.
Did she forget that Apothecary Diaries? I think she forgot. I think
she forgot, but I'll have to go back and check.
Yeah, well, Apothecary Diaries is my anime of the year, so
understandable.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, yeah, it's an 8.5. I really, really enjoyed it. It didn't break that 9 for me, so but yeah, I loved it so much, and yeah, you should watch How to Keep a Mummy. You would love it. So
I will absolutely watch it. All right, so that wraps up the fall season. We are now going to be entering in Anime of the Year territory. Nominations will be coming out. I will be announcing what's it called? Where we're donating our profits to. So every time anyone votes, we'll be donating $1 to a cool organization. I will be letting people know that in about 2-ish weeks. So be sure to vote for that when it comes out. Cozette, I want to say thank you for joining me as always. It wouldn't be fun if it was just me. So thank you for your insight and your in-depth reviews of all these shows.
I forgot one thing.
Oh, what's that?
I'm going to shout out Gun Gale Online. I dropped it, but it had the best episode of the entire series. I think it was like episode 3 or 4. But there was like a fight between Clarence and Shirley. And it literally was my favorite season of the entire Gun Gale Online series. So I dropped it, but I just wanted to give it a shout out because I really enjoyed that one episode.
Right on. I also dropped it. I didn't even think it's bad. I just thought like one season of that stuff was enough. And I was like, all right, that's enough. I didn't need to watch the whole other season.
It got repetitive, and it was Pito versus Len again, and then Len versus the group of girls. Like, it just got repetitive, and I was like, I'm over this.
Yep.
So
okay, cool. I'm glad I'm not the only person who thought that. So, but that is all. If you have made this far and you want to support us, the best way to do so is to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you're watching or listening to us on. Next week for Watch Club, we are watching Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season, a show that I absolutely love. Can't wait for 5 dudes to talk about how 5 girls are going through whatever they're going through. So little ironic, but fuck it, we ball. Let's see it. Otherwise, for non-Watch Club stuff will be our Anime of the Year nomination video in 2 weeks. So look forward to that. Thank you again, Cozette, and thank you to everyone out there. We will see you next time. Peace.
Bye-bye.